do that. All right, there we are. I see us now. Welcome to Talking Heads, everyone. Episode 217, your once weekly live show for the latest in beer and tech news. I'm Jeff.
I'm Rhett.
Welcome to the show, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this Wednesday night or in podcast form over on Anchor.fm or wherever your favorite podcasts are found. And the bad ones, too. If you've never seen the show before, we talk beer, we talk tech, we talk games, pop culture, entertainment, sometimes some Star Trek. We do read all super chats on the air, so long as they do not permanently demonetize my channel. We will be drinking alcohol on this show, and if you're drinking along with us, alcoholic or not, let us know in the chat, and we'll give some early show shoutouts as we go along. And last but not least, if you like the content you see on this channel and want to help support us in what we do, consider joining the Patreon. Link is down in the video description. As a bonus, you'll get exclusive access to the Discord server, where you can chat with myself, John, Rhett, Steve, all the hosts from Talking Heads, and join the awesome community that hangs out over there. Welcome to the show.
Welcome you to the show, Jeff.
Oh, thank you. You know, no one ever welcomes me to my own show.
That changes today. That changes today.
One of these days, I got to get like you over here and just let you take the lead so I can sit there and drink and do like the color commentary.
Absolutely. Why not? Yeah. Hey, welcome to 2022.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. First show of the new year. So we're doing it. We're making it happen.
Looking forward to it. It's going to be a fantastic year. I'm looking forward to so many different things, not many of which I can quite make public yet, but let's just say it's going to be a good year. So while we're getting started, I felt like an old-fashioned tonight, so I'm just mixing myself up one of those.
I got a G&T in front of me, baby.
Nice. I had one of those last night. Did you know they come in pints?
They do when you're mixing.
That's right. They come in pints? I'm getting one.
You've had a whole half already.
For the whiskey tonight, I am using Noble Oak Double Rye, or Double Oak Rye whiskey. Rye whiskey that is finished with port wine oak staves.
Excellent.
So a good rich red to kind of cap off that spicy rye note. We'll see how this one does. We're going to give a good generous 3-ounce pour there, because I can.
Why not? Where are you driving?
That's right. I ain't going anywhere. Let's see. Also in that, we've got some Bitter Housewife aromatic bitters, some of my favorite bitters, and they are right here in Portland. I don't know if you knew that.
Nice.
Also picked up some Bitter End Thai bitters, which are freaking fantastic. Excuse me. Give this a quick little stir here. And with every old fashioned, you should always top it off with a little spritz of orange. Maybe leave the peel behind. Instead, I got this little spritz bottle of orange oil from the shaker and spoon guys. It came in the package, and well, when you're done with the cocktails, you still have some of the ingredients left. So just gonna give that a little.
Ooh, that's fancy.
Little mist. Oh wow. Ooh.
Interesting. So is that just like for aromatic effect, or like is there flavor to that? Do you taste that?
Oh, there's flavor. Yeah. Oh, that is good. I'm gonna have to think of a name for that. Oh wait, they call it an old fashioned. Oh, wow. So the Thai bitters are fantastic. I've been really digging on those for, gosh, I think I've had these a couple months now. They are not like curry, but they're just as spicy as like a really good Thai dish.
Yeah.
Yeah, just fantastic. That rye is sitting just perfectly in there. It smooths out with that port finish. There's a real heaviness to the body on this one. And then that little orange spritz just kind of carries it home. Oh, That's a good one.
Excellent. Yeah, personally, I got the Hendrix Lunar gin. If you've ever had a chance to try that, it's actually a pretty good variation on Hendrix's gin.
Yes, I have had that.
It's a lot more. I don't know. It's herbal, but it's a lot smoother.
Yeah.
Than typical Hendrix.
Yep.
Maybe even like a little sweet. I don't know. Yep. Or sweeter, maybe. But yeah, I just went straight G&T. I've got 1 part Hendrix Lunar, 3 parts Fever Tree tonic, and a little bit of lime juice in there. So
nice. Which Fever Tree did you end up with?
Oh boy,
they have so many different kinds.
The basic,
just the basic
tonic water, okay. The premium Indian tonic water.
Yes, I love Fever Tree for tonics. Try the elderflower.
Okay.
For a gin and tonic, it is fantastic.
Yeah, I'll give that a go. They've got pretty good ginger beer as well.
Yes.
I like their ginger beer.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just kind of grabbed what they had on hand, and it's just the premium tonic. So,
yep.
What did I say? Premium Indian
tonic.
Yeah.
India.
So, well, right. That's where tonic kind of came from, right? It was this idea of shipping these things from England to India. Well, maybe I'm telling the story of the IPA.
That's the IPA.
But I had this dream. Maybe I made this up. I don't know. But that's why tonic has that really bitter flavor, is because the ingredients that they put in it was to make it last. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's IPA.
That's IPA.
What am I saying?
Yeah, I don't know where you're going with that. I don't know the origins of tonic water. So you could be right. It could be the same thing. I mean, who knows? But let's see some shout outs. Here we go. First up, let's start off with the super chat. Denver sending over 10 whole US dollars. Very much appreciated. First Strike Super. Did y'all see the top AMD APU isn't far off from the 6500 XT, but will likely be stuck under half the memory bandwidth. Also need to share it with some cache-starved CPU. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about the GPUs. I have those slated for like the middle of the show. I'm not going to dive too deep into them because, again, you're not going to be able to buy them. It's going to be a long year, folks. Dig in. Yeah, that's always the trade-off of an APU, is you're not using dedicated GDDR5 or GDDR6 memory, which is a very high bandwidth that has been optimized for graphics. It's the same protocol as DDR or double data rate memory, but it's been optimized for the latency required for graphics. When you put that memory over to the CPU based memory, the latency goes up, the bandwidth goes down, and it very much harms the overall performance, even if you have the same number of shader cores or whatever compute units, apples to apples with a graphics card. The graphics card will always be faster because it has more local resources. So, but like I said, we will get into that. Novella Hub says, evening gents, giving it a go tonight. Yeah, I knew Novella was a little under the weather, so get well, sir. By
the way, Jeff, I just have to get out of the way. So the way you get tonic water is because they had this medication that was used to treat malaria. It was an anti-parasitic.
Okay.
And they started mixing it with stuff, but it was so bitter that they would add sugar. And that's how you got tonic water.
That does make sense now.
And I'm pretty sure that's why the idea of the word tonic is
Yeah, medicinal. Yeah.
Yep.
Tonics for every condition. We've got snake oil. We've got... Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or, you're playing Final Fantasy. You got your tonics.
Yeah. Well, it depends on which version. Let's see. What else do we got here? Fote says, hello, everyone from Clearwater, Florida. Hello. Watching from the #1 German town in PNW. That's American Cosworth, so I'm assuming he's somewhere fairly close. Williams got a glass of Elijah Craig on the rocks. That's a way to go on a Wednesday night. Design and Gaming says, I'm 16, so I drink high-quality tea. Well, what kind of tea are you drinking? Don't leave us hanging there.
Excellent. Nothing wrong with some high-quality tea.
That's right. Got some mint lemonade for tonight. That's from Andrew.
Ooh,
Magic.
that sounds good.
Magic Rat. Siberian Summer Imperial Stout, 10%. Excellent. Apparently I was making my old-fashioned, so American Cosworth says, Jeff expecting again? No. I think we're done.
Never again.
Of course, I said that after the second one, and then the third one came, and now I'm like, now I'm really done. And this time, I mean it. John J. starting the show with a Hop Venom from Boneyard Beer. Nice 9% double IPA. Boneyard does make an excellent double. Andrew's got some brisk tea for the night. Novella Hub's got an Omni Brewing. Are you serious, Clark? Triple IPA, 10.5%. Awesome. Cool. I think that just about gets us caught up. Net Guy says it's never expected. You would be the expert in that one, so I'll defer to you. All right. Well, let's get this show on the road. Starting with, normally I'd say in memoriam. Like put your flags at half mast. Your reception at half bars. Not in this case. I say good riddance. Now I know. I might be in the minority there, and I'm a little jaded on this product and this company as a whole, simply because of the experience of servicing it on the back end of things. The Exchange integration, the Blackberry Messenger service, the everything that went into like the enterprise folks and having CEOs hurl Blackberries across the room. It's not working again. Well, if you type the passcode in correctly, you'd be able to get into it. You dolt. Like, that was my experience. And so I always hated Blackberry. I've never owned one. I disassociate with those that did. Speaking of which, John posted a picture of his previous Blackberry in Discord. So unfortunately, John will no longer be joining us. But seriously, Blackberry is coming to an end. And their phones and services yesterday have ceased function. They will no longer work. BlackBerry Messenger has been turned off completely. And that's that.
Interesting. And that was yesterday. Right? So
January 4th, 2022. RIP BlackBerry. May you burn in. Moving on.
Yeah, I mean, end of an era.
Mm-hmm.
I've never cared one way or the other.
BlackBerry was kind of, gosh, how do we sum up BlackBerry? BlackBerry was trying so hard to be a smartphone in the technology days of
the pre-iPhone smartphone.
The pre-iPhone, but you also have to look at, it was a worse PDA than Palm and a mediocre cell phone at best most of the time. I mean, they had some decent models. I'll give them, they had a couple of really good products, really good designs, but it was this weird amalgamation of like a Sony Ericsson phone and Nextel instant messaging and the worst interface you could possibly think of with that freaking rollerball in the center. Yeah. On a screen that wasn't an analog input. It was, I'm going down one line. But you had this rollerball that sometimes would take you down and sometimes would not, or sometimes it would jump you 4. So on top of, I never liked the service. I never liked having to support it. I hated the interface in general. I mean, here you had Palm Pilot and Handspring Visor running Palm OS, integrating themselves into phones. Handspring integrating themselves into phones, rather, with the Handspring mobile module, which I had in 2004. and fantastic mobile OS, well-supported third-party application development, fairly inexpensive hardware, open source, or not open source, but open standard as far as platforms go for SMS messaging and everything else. Blackberry was kind of like a holdout, like, no, we're going to keep everything enterprise and proprietary and be the... it was always just a pain in the ass. So I say good riddance. And then, of course, the iPhone. Yeah.
Yeah. Naturally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is kind of wild. Because, yeah, I think for a while, like, BlackBerry was really synonymous with, like, a certain type of person.
Certain executives, certain...
Yeah. And that's just, that's not going to be the case anymore. But, you know, hopefully for the best. So,
yeah. Harley sends over a $5 donation. Thank you very much, Harley. Dubco, Destination Unknown Beer Company. Ooh, I like that name. Marzen. Drinking a good old German Marzen. So, excellent. D sends over 420 Canadian with no message, just 420. Nice, although I'm not sure I get the joke down here. I think that's more like, $2.95, but whatever that translates into. I don't know.
We appreciated the spirit of the joke, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, RIM did all that first. It started as a pager and then tried to move to a PDA. Yeah, and I think that's a better analogy than what I had is BlackBerries emerged from the presence of pagers, not the necessity of a PDA style organizer device. And the messaging and back end service of that reflected that origin. So, yeah. Mo Zamboni. I like that. I like that name. $10 donation. I'm a 41-year-old father and an 8+ year 1099er. I appreciate your hustle as well as your eclectic takes on technology and your choices of libations. You are weird in all the right ways. Craft, not crap. Thank you. Seriously, thank you.
It's a good hashtag.
Yeah. Craft, not crap. Might have to monetize that one. Yeah. Say I'm a father in his mid-30s and just trying to make it and, left the business world behind and could not be happier for it. And so from one 1099er to another, I appreciate your hustle. And may 2022 treat you better than any year prior.
Cheers to that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, should we get into the next story? Or
yeah, let's do that. This one I'm sure you will be hearing a whole bunch about in the next couple of days, but it kind of broke today on Twitter, and late last night on Twitter, and so I figured I would beat Steve to the punch and talk a little bit about this. Because I'm of two minds of this. I am totally of two minds of this because as a tech YouTuber, as an influencer, the name I hate the most, the title, moniker, whatever that I hate the most, I work with companies. I work behind the scenes with companies quite a bit. I have communications that are not public, nor would the public normally get access to those kinds of conversations. But sometimes you run into the worst possible experience as a legitimate customer of a brand or of a marketplace or something else that normally a person would just be out the money, or they'd have to charge back something or whatever else. And they'd be going, yeah, like, Newegg did this thing to me years ago and I lost $150 and I'll never shop there again. And they'll tell everyone they know, but who they know is like 7 people. Yeah. As Steve over at Gamers Nexus said, Newegg rolled a natural 1. Quote from Twitter yesterday: Newegg screwed us out of $500 in one of the shadiest ways possible, and I don't think the company realizes that it rolled a natural 1 and landed on us. This appears to be a convenient scheme to deny RMAs and keep returned products and the money. Literal theft. We tried being nice. Now, the reason I'm of two minds of this is let me try to be very, very gentle about this. Okay. I've put companies on blast before. FedEx is probably the one that has drawn the most of my ire most recently. And I have to tell you, since I started putting them on blast, my service has not gotten any better. For a company that built their own tracking platform internally, knows their own infrastructure internally, knows their current bottlenecks in their supply chain and transit chain and everything else, you would think they would be able to accurately track goods and give you a good estimate of when something was going to arrive. Don't tell me it's going to arrive Wednesday and then it doesn't arrive till the next Tuesday. If you tell me Tuesday and then it arrives sooner, well, then I'm a happy customer. If you tell me today, but it doesn't arrive for another 6 days, I'm going to get a little grumpy. Because maybe I'm planning on doing a video with that, or I needed a part to replace something in my washing machine, or I needed this, or I needed that. You do plans based on expectations of delivery, especially in this, mid-COVID world that we live in. I can't just go down to whatever store and buy whatever I want, or at least I don't because I'm responsible. And so you have to rely on transit. But I've put Newegg on blast repeatedly on this channel, on Twitter. It hasn't really helped me any, and I get the same customer service that everyone else does, but it makes me feel a little bit better. There are avenues, however, that I could take as an influencer if I had a problem with a particular product, that I could just call up a rep of that company, because I have the marketing rep's number, and if something's going to get done, it's going to get done that way. I have received no less than 2 new side panels from Fractal Design after I broke them of my own incompetence. I will say that Fractal Design treats me well. Same computer, same case, twice. And actually, I broke a third panel swapping out that PC for a different PC. And while I was swapping it, the panel came out and shattered on the ground. And that one just doesn't have a side panel anymore. It's like, I'm not going to call in a third favor. But it's like I have influence and have the contacts to be able to go behind the scenes and just fix a problem. But when legitimate situations like this arise, and let's go into the clarification of what the problem actually was. We bought a motherboard from Newegg, never opened it, not even the UPS box. So they literally took receipt of the box, went, oh, it didn't arrive in time, or we didn't need it anymore, or whatever the case may be. Started an RMA on Newegg, was fine with the restocking fee, sent it back. I've done that numerous times with projects on the channel where you're not sure if something's going to arrive on time, so I'll buy a second product or I'll source the same part from a second vendor, because if one arrives first, that means I can get moving on content first, and the other one I can just RMA. Like, that's kind of a normal business practice. I offered to pay a restocking fee, no worries. Newegg claims, quote, the motherboard has thermal paste in the socket and I'm not getting a refund. They never opened even the shipping box, let alone the retail box that this motherboard came in. And Newegg has continuously failed to read or listen to our queries as a normal customer, not as GN. So this was done on a personal account. And has shown its true colors. They denied a refund for the return and kept the product, and now we're stuck in an RMA loop where they have both their money and the product. As a consumer, that infuriates me. I've been on that side a number of times with different people. Not necessarily as Jeff from Craft Computing, but just Jeff, who bought something from X company. Like, it happens sometimes. It shouldn't, but it happens sometimes. I've been on that end for car repairs. I was on that end actually most recently with eBay, where I'd bought something on eBay, and it was my 3090. I bought an RTX 3090 on eBay because I needed an RTX 3090 for doing my video editing, because I didn't want to spend, $8,000 on a Tesla or Quadro GPU, and I needed more video memory available. And the highest consumer card available was 24 gigabytes, which happened to be an RTX 3080, which happened to cost $2,750 on eBay. Yes, it's a business expense. No, I didn't want to pay it, but that was the going rate. So anyway, bought this card on eBay, and I bought from a shipper in Oregon, from a guy in Oregon who had the card, and I went, cool, it'll be here in a couple of days instead of a week or so. And, I'd like to help someone in Oregon, or, even if it is a scalper, I don't care, just, I need the card. So I bought from Oregon. I paid $50 more. He was $2,750. I think the lowest was $2,700, but it's like, yeah, Oregon, cool, 2 days, done. Like 4 days goes by, the card still hasn't shipped. And I went, hey, are you going to ship my almost $3,000 graphics card? I'd kind of like to receive it. To which I got an email back that said, well, I didn't realize that eBay was going to take 12% of the final sale price, and that's just highway robbery. So tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to refund you, and I'll sell you the card for $25, and we'll just kind of split the difference between the two, between the fees and everything else. And I went, no. You've rolled a natural 3. I'm not going to call it a 1, but you've rolled a natural 3. Because I have affiliate links for eBay. So I make a good amount of money referencing people to eBay with this account that I bought this card through. So you can either ship the card, or I will report you to eBay, because if I go outside eBay terms of service, I lose business. Yeah. I lose money. And you didn't read the 12% on IT stuff, so that's on you. And
you want to talk about highway robbery?
Right,
$2,700.
Right,
get out of here.
Right, $2,700. Yeah.
Take off your 12% and call it a learning expense.
Exactly, and that's kind of what I told him. Well, he emailed back and he goes, "Man, I just don't want to pay that." And I said, "Look, I hear you. The fee sucks, but there's nowhere else that you're going to get as many views onto your product as what eBay has. And so you have to play ball with them on the 12%. And whatnot. I'm not going to risk anything else for, going elsewhere." And he emailed back and he was still kind of wishy-washy. And finally I said, I am done. I'm going to report you to eBay for trying to go outside the terms and service and break or breach the contract for the sale, because that's what you've done. And spoiler alert, they will side with the buyer.
They always do.
They always do. And I said, because I'm sick and tired of you holding my graphics card hostage. And he didn't like that word. He goes, I'm not holding anything hostage. I said, you have my $2,750 and the graphics card and are making demands. That's the definition of a hostage situation. Yeah. So, long story short, he shipped me the graphics card. But anyway, moving back to the Gamers Nexus situation, it was about 12 hours later. Newegg decided their customer service branch should go ahead and respond to this inquiry and this injustice that had been aired on Twitter, to see if we can just kind of make this all go away. Hey, can you DM me your number and we'll just refund you like right away. From Newegg, from @Newegg, verified. Hi, Steve. First off, thank you for the feedback and what you do for the community. Butter him up first. We're saddened to hear that you, or anyone for that matter, had to go through that. We'd like to welcome a discussion with you to improve our process and our overall services. Talk soon. The replies are great. I just want to stop on this one for a second. The replies are fantastic. Hold on. Should I see more replies? There we go. Show more replies. Steve responded, and I don't even see it now. He said,
I think you just went back into your normal feed there.
Yeah, it went. Yeah, for some reason it's not showing Steve's reply. But Steve replied, "We'll talk after the video is posted because you've had more than enough chances."
Yeah.
If I was a normal customer, you'd be holding my money hostage over this, we'll just say, injustice. If this turns out to be true, and at the moment I only have one side of the story, and I bet we're only ever going to get one side of the story because Newegg will never publicly comment on an issue like this. But if this is true, then boy,
yeah,
how many other times has this happened and it hasn't been a YouTube tech media influencer with 1.5 million subscribers?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the big question. I mean, how many other people has this happened to? Is this a routine pattern?
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, if it's a routine, that's just bad business. It was bound to come up like this with somebody like Steve.
Mm-hmm.
It was going to rock the boat. But most people don't have the time or the energy or the wherewithal to fight back this much. And I don't know, I've never really heard a story like that where people didn't get their money back, but not after a lot of back and forth.
Right.
And
I've been in a situation like this, not with Newegg, but with certain tech products. I returned a laptop one time. I bought a laptop, not going to mention even the brand or the vendor or anything like that. I bought a laptop. I wasn't happy with the laptop. I returned it. I treat all of my tech perfectly. I don't care if a graphics card has died. I'm not just hawking it in a bin. I'm like going to set it in a box and then gently set that box down into the recycle bin. I'm not a destructive type at all, regardless of the situation. I think Bitwit did this thing where he did a vlog one time where he went to a place where they let you like take a sledgehammer to computers and TVs and crap. I can't do that. I just can't. I don't know why.
There's a place like that in Salem. at the Fork 40 food hall.
Okay.
Downtown on State Street.
Yeah.
There's a place. I don't know what it's called, but you can pay money and go in and break things with a sledgehammer.
Cool. But yeah, I'm just not a destructive type. Even if something used to have value, I have a hard time destroying it. I just do. So yeah. But I've been in this situation before where I returned something and they said, well, it came like this, and so we're not giving you your money back. And I'm like hell, you're not giving me my money back. Like, I used the laptop for an hour and a half, didn't like it, and decided to return it because it had this issue with it. And yeah. Was it hard to watch the movie Office Space? Oh, don't get me wrong. I can watch it just fine. I don't like being around it. I don't like, we used to do send stuff to recycling and reclamation places all the time and whatnot. And so we'd just get like giant pallets that we would load up with old tech. And I'm picking up towers and like setting them down. Meanwhile, the techs that worked with me are like taking the towers and just yeeting them into the basket. And I'm like, I know they're going to be melted down for gold. Still though, just a thing in my brain doesn't like it.
Chris P here found Steve's reply, quote, "We can talk after our video goes up. I'm not a big fan of disingenuous attempts to fix an issue after it's revealed that the mistreated customer has a following."
Yeah.
So,
which that customer service reply did reek of that. I've never gotten that, although I'm not huge on Twitter, although I am starting to be known in the tech space on a fairly regular basis, where it's hit or miss if I might get recognized in a tweet directed at Newegg or whoever else. but I could still do a video on YouTube, and I guarantee that video could take off. So I do have the nuclear option if need be with a thing like this. Skull brings up a fantastic point, and is a fantastic moderator all around. Thank you, Skull, for keeping the trolls at bay. I think the biggest question here is whether this is a pattern of behavior from Newegg that there is evidence of, or if this is one pissed off rant in a shitty situation as an individual. And that's why I always hesitate on just like putting a company on blast, because just because you had a particularly shitty situation doesn't mean that every customer that has ever walked through that door has. Unless I hear more evidence, I really won't speak ill of a company, unless I have repeatedly been treated like crap, like with FedEx. Like, it took 18 late packages in 2 months for me to like finally put them on blast on Twitter. And I've talked about it a number of times here on Talking Heads, but it's never made a mainstream video. And I'm sorry, Talking Heads gets like 4,000 views plus, another 10,000 or so syndicated on podcast over on Anchor.fm or wherever your favorite podcasts are found. But I don't put it in my videos that get 50 to 100,000 views because I don't need to. I feel like going the customer route rather than the entitled influencer route.
Yeah, it's not a good look if it ends up being like an honest mistake or whatever. And truthfully, like most of the time, these types of situations really do, I think, have a more of a middle ground than we like to think. And Newegg is a massive company, and they really don't need the benefit of my doubt by any means. But you got to think that they're staffed by normal people who probably aren't making that much money. And so when this comes back, they might, who knows, this guy might have kicked it to his manager, and that manager's making a decision based on, procedure or protocol or whatever. And it ends up being the wrong thing for sure.
Yeah.
And they probably get a ton of people saying like, well, actually, where's my money?
Yep.
You screwed me. Well, yeah, I'm sure we screwed you. Good job, buddy.
Yeah.
This time they happen to, maybe they were wrong, and they happen to do it to somebody that probably has the receipts to back up what they're saying and all this sort of stuff. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how it unfolds. I mean, I don't blame them for being upset. So I think a lot of us sort of fantasize about having the power to do what Steve is doing. I know I've felt that way a lot with banks back in the day when I was poor, and they're,
well, I'm just going to take my business elsewhere. Okay. Would you like all $29 from your checking account?
Yeah. I mean, I had a thing once when I was like 19 years old where a hold on my debit card that was, I only had like $10 and I bought like $5 of gas, but the gas, when you get gas, they hold like $60 or whatever instead of just putting, and that negated my overdraft protection.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden my overdraft protection was off, and it triggered all of these charges. And all of a sudden, before they even told me, I had $700 of charges.
Yeah.
And then before I knew it, I had 1,000, and I had gone in and I asked them to like freeze the account while we debated it. They never froze it. So then I had $1,300 of charges.
Yeah.
And when I finally settled it with them, they said, okay, well, here's what we'll do. And they credited all this money back, and I still had negative 20 cents. And they were like, if you can't bring that up positive by end of business, and the fees start accruing again. And of course, I worked a swing shift job. How was I going to get there before close of business?
Right.
So luckily I was able to call somebody. I would have walked into the branch and
just thrown a quarter across the table.
Right. Yeah. I was able to call somebody and give them my account information so they could go in and fill in a deposit slip. I think I called like somebody from the store across the street, and I was like, please, small town stuff. But it's like, that's how they get you. And I remember fantasizing, like, I just wish I had recourse that was more satisfying than what I did. And who knows how many people do get screwed in that regard and end up, but I don't know. We'll have to see what happens with this. Be interesting.
Net Guy also chimed in a little earlier, and I wanted to give this some attention too. What if Newegg shipped a used motherboard to them and accidentally? This would explain a lot, as it happens often. Now, again, Gamers Nexus never opened the shipping box, so they never inspected the motherboard. I will say, always inspect packages that come in. Always. So if that ends up being the case, if they shipped him a used board, and Steve didn't see it and inspect it upon delivery, I'm not saying this is Steve's fault. I want to make that perfectly clear. This is still on Newegg, but you report anything immediately as it happens, as quickly as you can. Every time I get a box, that box gets opened and inspected. Maybe not the retail box gets opened if it still has like factory seals on it. I just want to open the box and make sure they didn't send me something that looks like an accordion now, because sometimes that happens in distribution facilities. Inspect the packaging for damage, open the box, make sure that what they sent you is what they actually were supposed to send you. And handle it from there. It takes 5 minutes. For, someone like Steve, it probably takes 30 minutes to open all your boxes every day. But it helps prevent situations like this.
Yeah.
So,
and that's a great point, because a company like Newegg, that's definitely been known to happen before.
Totally. It's happened to me before. I've ordered new parts, and I ordered a keyboard one time that came with like Cheeto dust inside of it. Like, it happens. It shouldn't happen, but it does.
God, I hate Cheeto dust.
It's coarse and irritating and gets everywhere.
Just gets everywhere.
All right. So yeah, that's the only advice I can give, is to avoid being in a situation like this. Inspect the packages when they come in. Don't even bother opening the retail package. Just open the box and make sure the box is in good condition, like the retail box is in good condition. And verify it is what they say it is. Now, this did ship from Newegg themselves. This was not a third-party seller. So Newegg is the responsible party in all of this. But we often forget as consumers that there is a little bit of responsibility on our end as well to report any wrongdoings or issues that come up along the way. Now, whether or not they're handled, that's another issue entirely. And I will still say 95% of the onus belongs to the company. But if I receive a package and I don't open it for 3 months, and I open it up and it's a box of rocks instead of a $600 motherboard, guess what? That's on me, still partially on the company who sent it, but I should have reported that on day 1, not day 91. So that's what I'll say. I hope this situation has a good ending. I hope this was a one-off thing and not indicative of any massive issues over at Newegg. I'm sure this will get resolved. I'm sure Steve will get his money back. He's certainly going to get the views for, one of the first contenders of Worst of the Year of 2022 here in the 5th day of January. So, disappointment PC. Oh God, he's going to fill another motherboard with thermal paste. Crap. Anyway, good luck to you, Steve. Hope everything works out. Denver sends over $5. Thank you very much again, my friend. I had an ITX motherboard that sat for a week and found the VRM pads were sitting on the socket. It was fine. I had suitable pads, but what if I hadn't? And yeah, there's weird things that happen all the time. Even in sealed boxes, I'll open a box and it's like, well, that's not supposed to be rattling around in there. That's happened a number of times. Heck, I gave Red a monitor that ended up...
That was a real bummer.
That was a real bummer. That was a $1,000 monitor. So I did a review on a monitor 2 years ago, 2.5, almost 3 years ago now. It was a BenQ ultra wide. It was halfway between a gaming monitor and half a content creation monitor. It was only 100 hertz, but it was 100% sRGB accurate, and I think 93% DCI or something like that in a 34-inch ultra wide 1440p. Great monitor. Didn't have a VESA mount, so it wasn't going to live on my desk, but I went, well, Rhett can use it because he's going to be editing video for me. That's awesome. So I reviewed the monitor. I put it back in the box because I didn't really have anything to do with it, and then sent it over to Rhett after I moved. Well, apparently when I was moving, we broke it.
Yeah, I mean, that had to have been like the only time it could have happened, but I pulled it out of the box. It's like, ooh, that doesn't look very good. But I was like, I was like, maybe it's just cosmetic. So I plugged it in, turned it on. I was like, no, that ain't cosmetic.
Yep.
God, that was
3/4
so
of the screen just splintered.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Couldn't even get an image on it.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. All right. How's your cocktail doing there?
Oh, it's gone, but it was great.
Mm.
That Hendrix Lunar is really good.
This is so fantastic. Now, as an old fashioned does, it dilutes down as you drink it, especially if you pour it on a single rock. Even diluted down, it still has this fairly thick, but not syrupy. It's not syrupy. Fairly thick body, chewy almost. Very sweet up front. Again, not syrupy sweet, but just like a real nice, gosh, rhubarb pie type sweet, I'll say. And then it's still leaving me with like a little bit of peppercorn and a little bit of just heat overall from those Thai bitters. The orange is very much still there. This is just a great old fashioned.
Sounds delicious. I'm ready to open up my second drink, so there's no rush for you, but I'm getting a little thirsty, a little parched, cotton mouth.
Yeah, I'm about 2 minutes away, so go ahead and open yours, and by the time you finish, I'll be good to go.
Yeah, so this is all the way. I believe it's from our friend John J. I've got a Trinity IPA.
It is from John.
This is one of a handful that he sent us over the previous several weeks or months at this point. And I've had it before. It is a delicious beer. Excited for the next one. Oh, I guess I could hold it up because you ain't going to see it when I pour it into my delightful clay mug over here. All the way from Providence, Rhode Island, the one true city of New England. Providence, Rhode Island. It looks like a delicious beer. I'm pouring it into a mug you won't be able to see, but nice, easy here. Smells good coming out. It's a small mug, so I'm gonna have to give it a second here. Internet connection unstable, baby.
Yep.
That's just what Trinity IPAs do for you.
Good for killing internet connections and brain cells.
It brings you back into the Stone Age so you can have a real good time.
That's right. You know, maybe turn off your phone for a while, eh, Rhett?
Never.
Never again. All right. For my second drink, bringing back an old favorite. This is from Binary Brewing right here in Portland. This is the Ducking Autocorrect West Coast IPA. Never once in my life have I intentionally typed in ducking into my phone.
That's not true. I have all the time.
Ducking or to duck. Because there's so many instances where I am typing a message out to someone and I said, did you try ducking under that?
Well, you know,
they
might
really
be a little
ducked me
too
over.
young. We might be a little too young for the duck and cover drills. I don't know. What did they use cell phones for if not talking about duck and cover drills?
Duck and cover. All right. That is a beautiful beer. Look how clear that is.
Delightful.
Yes. Oh, that's just good. All right. Let's move on to another super chat. And then, like literally as I'm talking it, my screen turned orange. Okay. One more super chat, and then we will dive into the news. Mike D from Canada sends over another 20 Canadian pesos. Thank you so much, Mike. I do appreciate it. Wishing you and your whole family a safe and healthy 2022, especially little X. Thank you very much. Excited for the new craft computing content. Stoked for the retro rocket. Ooh, someone's been paying attention. That case comes in tomorrow. Very excited for that one. Please make it happen. I will share the vid with everyone I know. Yeah, for those who have been paying attention, thank you very much. But I am building what is known as a retro rocket. It is a retro PC built with mostly modern parts. And this one is, I'm fairly confident in saying, unlike any that you've ever seen before. And fairly approachable for what it is. I don't think I have the network drivers sorted out, but I have everything else sorted out. It's going to have multiple PCI slots, but be a sub 5 liter case. So stay tuned. It's going to be a good one. Not coming via FedEx. No, this one's USPS. Tech Geek sends over $10. That case comes in tomorrow. Does it though? Does it really? Yes, it's USPS and it's already in Salem. So, what retro GPUs are still inexpensive? The FX 5500 from NVIDIA is a fairly easy get with 256 megs of DDR memory. Not even GDDR, just DDR. And that can be had for about $35 on a PCI bus. Voodoos are all like 150 plus. Yeah, no, I kind of wanted a Voodoo card, but at the same time, I wanted something even more modern than that. And there are 3DFX wrappers that you can get that do a darn good job at turning your NVIDIA card into a 3DFX Glide card. So I'd rather just wrap an old game and have full compatibility with everything else, plus be well above every minimum requirement I'd ever want to be, and spend $35 instead of $150 for the nostalgia of a 3DFX card. So yeah, I've narrowed my choices down to 2 different NVIDIA cards. I'm not sure which one I'm going to go with yet, but they're both pretty darn good. They're PCI, not AGP. I had to concede on the AGP thing because that just made things way more difficult than I wanted them to be. But yeah, sub 5 liter build incoming. It's going to be a lot of fun. Kren. Rhett, why don't you take this one away? Kren sends over a $5 super chat.
Yeah, he gives over $5 Aussie bucks and he says, "G'day, mate."
There you go.
G'day, Kren.
G'day, Kren.
Coming at you live.
How you getting on?
I'm glad that Kren is okay with it. Because remember the first time I did it, I was just like, we're going to lose every Australian viewer.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
I like that it's a regular thing. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, guys.
I'm going to step away real quick and see if I can't solve some of my connectivity issues. So I'll be right back.
All right. Okay. I will take this away then. Jeremy sends over $5. Actual dollars. I do appreciate that, Jeremy. UPS can't deliver my packages from Tacoma to Tacoma because of rain. Today is the second reschedule due to weather. Yeah, we've had that excuse in Oregon a number of times. And, well, living in Tacoma, you understand all of that fully. If they have to cancel due to rain, that means you're not going to be in service 8 months out of the year. Like, it's just a thing. So you either deal with the rain, or if you're in Kansas or Illinois or wherever, you deal with the snow. Get me my dang package. Like, let's figure this out. Anyway, finally moving on to tech news. As much as I love the super chats, if we want to get into tech news, I'm going to give another 3 seconds for one to pop up. Nope, they haven't popped up yet. Okay, here we go with the tech news. Rhett, are you ready?
Let's do it.
All right. We'll start with AMD. We're going alphabetically as to not irritate anyone. This is not showing favoritism, but it's AIN. So it's AMD, Intel, NVIDIA. There we go. AMD announced that in 2022, second half 2022, we will be seeing Zen 4 CPUs on the all-new AM5 LGA socket. Sorry, LGA socket. They are doing away with the good old, cat grooming tools that the AMD CPUs have been since the beginning of time, and are finally moving over to LGA on the consumer socket. Now, AMD has used LGA for a number of years, dating back into, the bulldozer days with the Opteron 6000. Great cat grooming accessories. OBS disconnected for a second and then reconnected. That was weird.
Weird.
Yeah.
I think the weather has been very hard.
The weather has been very hard. And I am on a new fiber line now, by the way. Last week I did the show over Wi-Fi. Like, that was that was a wing and a prayer, let me tell you. Yeah. Anyway, so Zen 4 coming in the second half on an all-new LGA AM5 socket. But there is a new Ryzen CPU based on Zen 3 coming in the first quarter with all-new 3D V-Cache. Now, what this is AMD has been experimenting with stackable cache on their chips. So we all know that AMD uses chiplets for their design, and so they have 8 CPU cores with cache and all the other intricacies that live on a core, and they can put whatever chiplets they want onto a CPU die as well as an IO die to connect them all together, and then boom, you have a CPU. Well, the cache exists on those chiplets, and to date, there has been 32 megabytes of L3 cache on any given Ryzen chiplet. The problem is, if you want to speed things up, and if you want to get lower latency to the memory that is being held by your RAM, you need more cache. And the closer you can get it to the CPU, the better. So L1 is the fastest, L2, and it's usually 128K, 256. It's kilobytes in size. Then you have the L2 cache, which is typically in the range of, 2 to 6 to 8 megabytes. It's also not huge. Or not a large amount, but it's also very small and very, very close to the CPU. Then you get into L3, which is based on significantly slower memory, but still 100 times faster than the DDR memory that is sitting over in your DIMM slots. So the more cache you can build into the CPU, the faster your CPU can access memory and the faster it can chew through data. Now, 32 megs of cache is still a decent amount of cache in a modern CPU. I don't want to downplay that at all. But AMD has been working on stacking layers of cache to increase that amount without increasing package size or package surface area. What they've managed to do is take that 32 megabytes of L3 cache and stack a 64 megabyte module on top of it, giving you 96 megabytes of L3 cache. They are going to be producing a chip based on Zen 3 called the Ryzen 7 5800X 3D, which will have the same 8 cores and 16 threads of its similarly named counterpart in the 5800X. However, the 5800X, I don't know where I was going with that. The 5800X 3D will have 96 megabytes of L3 cache instead of 32. Using this stacked technology. It will have a slightly lower base and boost clock, which I find slightly interesting. I'm not sure why this is, if not for thermal reasons. Because if you make the L3 cache taller, you have to make the rest of the chip taller so it is able to be spread by the heat spreader, unless you want to CNC your own custom heat spreader with like a 2 nanometer dip in the... You need to raise the rest of the CPU package to make it flat. That's just the end result. So they've instead coated the rest of the CPU with a thermal layer that will help with heat transference between the die itself and the heat spreader that's on top of it and make it the same height as the L3 cache. I don't know if that's the reason for this discrepancy between those two CPUs, but even at 4.5 gigahertz, this may be a faster CPU in certain workloads than the 5600X is. 5800X, excuse me. So, interesting stuff. That's a new product, to be sure. And we did, like I said, get our first look at the AM5 CPU, which is going to be based on LGA. So here's a look at the socket itself. It will have PCI Express 5.0, so I guess PCIe 4.0 was kind of a short, fleeting little blip in time, as well as DDR5 support. And the good news is it's compatible with all current AM4 coolers. They didn't change their cooler mount. Bravo, AMD. I did appreciate that little footnote in this. 5 nanometer Zen 4, second half of 2022. That's that.
Perfect. Well done, AMD.
Yes. For those wondering, it's officially the LGA 1718 socket, if you keep track of that kind of thing. Elmist Guzman sends over 1,000 yen. Good afternoon from Japan. New member to the Discord. Loved the fact only 2 groups on my Discord are Craft Computing and Star Trek Online. I think I may be a Trekkie.
I think you might be.
I think you're among friends, is what this is. I'm still waiting for Paramount to C&D my my frame here. I think I took enough liberty with it that I'm fine. It's definitely inspired by, but it's nothing that was seen on the show. Although the colors are fairly accurate, and I do have the whole rant alert screen that I could always go back to. So there's that. But thank you from Japan. I don't think I've ever had anyone confirm that they were from Japan. So oddly enough, in 250,000 subscribers, you're the first. I did forget to note earlier on, someone said, I hope this becomes a thing where Rhett starts matching his mic cozy to his wardrobe.
I thought I would never use this yellow one before. And then I wore this yellow shirt and I was like, well, I got to put it on. Right before we rolled, I ripped the other one off and put it on. So
wait, yeah, I GI have just the thing for this, right?
GI Pilot bought me a whole pack of different colors. So I might have to make it a tradition to rotate through them.
Elma says he's stationed in Japan, active duty military. Well, thank you. Thank you for tuning in, regardless of where you're at, and thank you for doing what you do. I appreciate it. American Coswer sends over $5. He's in the Bite My Bits and Big Big Spoon Discords. I have been hanging with bad people. So I told him, there is hope. The first step is admitting you have a problem, is what I hear. So, a little bit more AMD news. This is less news and more rumors and speculation, but the AMD EPYC Genoa chip has potentially been leaked, at least physically. As big as Threadripper is, good God. So a Threadripper is, let me see the proper LGA socket name for Threadripper. Let me look it up. I can never remember. Of course, Wikipedia is not going to have it. Does anyone know the pin count on LGA SP3? Gosh. I LGA 4094. So 4094 CPU pins in an SP3 socket. The SP5 socket is an LGA 6096, so 2,000 more pins. So basically what they've done is they've taken the same length Threadripper and just squared it up vertically. Holy crap, that's a big chip. Oh, and by the way, little footnote, up to 96 cores of Zen 4 and 400 watt TDP per socket. Good God. Good God. Yeah, that was the other news to come out of this week for AMD. Moving on to Intel. Intel announces, obviously, their 12th gen Alder Lake. They have now announced their full stack of CPUs that are available. 22 of them in all, and 8 new laptop SKUs as well. Now, the 22 desktop CPUs, I want to put a little asterisk next to. I feel like I need to, because I feel like it's more like 7 CPUs with like 8 variants each. Like, there's just a chart of, you have the i9 12900K, the 12900KF, the 12900, the 12900F, the 12900T. Which one are you gonna get? I understand the need in some situations for multiple SKUs, but at some point, I just become numb to them all. And so do consumers, because if a consumer were to look at this chart, they'd go, what in the ever living crap am I supposed to do with all this? Now, I know the K stands for overclocking, and the F stands for no integrated graphics, and the 12900 is just the base model, and then the T is the lower wattage model, and blah, blah, blah. Like, I understand the need for some different SKUs, but at some point, you got to start paring it back down. Like,
never. This is Intel we're talking about.
Right. Ugh. Yeah. It frustrates me from a reviewer standpoint. It frustrates me from a tech standpoint. It frustrates me from an enthusiast standpoint. Because while they could just release the i9 12900 as an unlocked CPU with the same base and boost clocks, they don't. Instead, they actually differentiate all of these CPUs with all different base boost core clocks for both the performance and the efficiency cores. They have wildly different base TDPs. They have wildly different turbo TDPs. Like the 12900T is supposed to be a 35 watt chip, but it'll still turbo up to 106 watts. Yeah, it's just weird. Bite My Bits had a shot wheel. Where is yours? Boy, I have a history with taking money for shots, and I don't think I'm going to open that bag of worms back up.
Okay, we're craft, not crap. Okay,
craft, not crap. Thank you, Brett.
I would die if there was a shot wheel.
Right.
Where I was 2.5 years ago is just not where I am now.
Right.
Like a shot, okay, great.
Right.
Sure, that sounds fun. 2, ugh, we're getting dicey.
Right.
3, you want me to do a live show?
3, what time is it? Yeah.
Look, that's why you guys come to the super secret after show.
Like,
okay.
Like, to do multiple shots, you would have to get me like 6-7 years ago. When I started this channel in 2017, my second daughter had just been born a month prior. So I'm on round 2 of having a newborn in the house and having to hold together a show. Now, this is obviously my first go around with being a full-time YouTuber and trying to set my own schedule. And boy, has that schedule gotten fluid, let me tell you. But my first go around when I started the channel and when I was posting videos weekly, I still had a newborn at home and I was still working a full-time job. And boy, I don't know that I could have done a shot wheel even in 2017 at the start of the channel, let alone today. Like, whew.
No, that's painful.
Yeah. Anyway, a couple of the new CPUs that were announced are some of the more consumer-friendly, lower-end, mid-tier CPUs, if you were, especially in the i5 range, because we knew we had the i5 12600K. However, now we have the standard 12600, and actually for a pretty sizable, almost $70 discount over the 12600K. This might be a dark horse for a lot of budget builds with a 3.3 gigahertz base and a 4.8 gigahertz boost. Yeah, it's not overclockable, but that's still a pretty darn good chip with 6 cores and 12 threads. There's no efficiency cores on this one. You have to get the K or the KF to get the efficiency cores. But if you're a gamer, I don't know if you really care about the efficiency cores. So $220, or probably what will end up being like $239 when it actually hits retail. For the i5 12600K, boy, that might be my dark horse budget gamer build candidate. We've got a million different variants on this. The 12600T, which is the low power made for business variant at 35 watts, and a max turbo hitting just 74 watts for literally the same price as the 12600. We've got the 12500 with a slightly lower boost clock, but the same TDP for $20 less. And then finally the 12400 lineup. Again, same TDP, slightly lower boost clock, but another $20 below that, or $10 below that. So again, you get into some major SKU confusion here, where it's like, do I spend $192 or $202 or $223? What are the differences between those? And where will I benefit as a consumer or as a business owner or as someone who's buying a bunch of white box products? And we lost Rhett. That's awesome. I think I'll go to this screen, or even better, I have one where Rhett is not on the screen. There we go. Yeah, it's confusing for a consumer. It really, really is. Moving down to the i3 range of products, which I would love to show off, but I think I'm going to have to disable the Discord video. There we go. Sorry for the black screen. We do have the i3s, which are 4 cores, 8 threads, and none of the i3s have efficiency cores in them. And they start maxing out at 4.4 gigahertz at the very top of the line with the 12300F. It's weird to say that I'm SKU overloaded while also being disappointed there's still no 12300K. Like, give me a 4-core 8-thread overclock chip. Like, just give me one to play with. $150. You know, let's beat Ryzen at their own game. Like, seriously, beat Ryzen at their own game. And give us an overclockable low-end chip that's $150 that, if you're just a gamer, that's really all you need. But anyway, we have the 12300, 12300T, the 12100, 12100F, and the 12100T. And then we get into the Pentiums and Celerons, which are 2 cores. I don't know if these are 2 cores 4 threads or 2 cores 4 threads. It doesn't go into the actual thread count. So I don't know if hyperthreading is enabled on Pentium and Celeron. I would guess not. But there we go. Oops. Wrong one. Hold on. One of these. There we go. Well, you know what? While Rhett is gone, I think that's a perfect time to get into the segue of how Linode will never let you down. And today's video is brought to you by Linode. Ooh, we get the cool mirrored effect down on Rhett's screen now. If you've ever needed to host your own servers, whether it be for home or business use, but don't have the resources or time to invest into hardware, power, cooling, or even space, why not let Linode host them for you? If it runs on Linux, it'll run on Linode. That includes the software for most of the tutorials on my channel, or even apps from the app marketplace, which are one-click installs and installed directly into a Linode instance. With shared CPU plans starting at as little as $5 per month and scaling up to as high as you need to go, you'll be able to find a hosting plan that fits your needs. And even if you do host your own servers, you can use Linode to keep a backup off-site, because remember, RAID is not a backup. Linode also recently announced they are the first alternative cloud provider to have NVMe block storage available to all customers. In September, they began rolling out NVMe drives to all 11 of their global data centers. Best of all, storage rates will remain at the same low price they always have been. Visit linode.com/craftcomputing and get a $100 60-day credit just for signing up for a new account. That's linode.com/craftcomputing, and thanks again to Linode for sponsoring today's episode. Thank you, Linode, indeed. Where did Rhett go? It's going to be a really awkward show if he died. If his internet died. Well, if he died too, that'd be weird. Hopefully he'll come back before too long. But, as they say, the show must go on. So, go on we shall. Up next is NVIDIA. With the NVIDIA... Oh, do we have Rhett back?
Kind of.
There he is. Okay.
We're doing it.
We're doing it. Like I said, I was just saying the show must go on, and go on we shall. So
I'm here.
all right. What happened?
Internet's gone.
Just gone?
No, I'm on cellular data right now.
All right.
Yeah, no idea what's going on. So I just grabbed my cell phone, grabbed my Bluetooth, and here we are. So
there you go.
I've got my desktop in front of me, and if it recovers, we'll make the switch back. But
all right. Well, I appreciate you sticking with me. All right. Up next is some video cards that you won't be able to buy. Let's go ahead and start with the RX 50 or 6500, $199. Right. Like that'll ever happen. Will a single person ever buy that graphics card for $199? I want to know. Will any one person ever buy that graphics card at $199? My money's on no. My money is this card will never be available at that price for the average consumer, because they're going to be sold by the pallet load to miners before they ever get into retail channels. So sure, miners will buy them at like $189. They'll pay wholesale, but will a consumer be able to pay $199? No. It sucks. There's also a new 3090, the 3090 Ti, called, quote, a monster of a GPU. Hold on, let me turn Rhett back on. There we go. Portrait mode. What the... Dude.
Oh, should I flip it over here?
Yeah.
Let's see what we can do here.
There you go.
There we go.
We have standards on this show, man.
I guess so. Good Lord.
NVIDIA has announced the 3090 Ti, a monster of a GPU, opposite the RTX 3050, available at just $250, which again, good effing luck. NVIDIA says this will be using the whole GA102 core, the whole Ampere 102 GPU die, which means it's going to be using the same 10,752 CUDA cores as the RTX 3090. However, it will have slightly better memory bandwidth at the same 24 gigs of memory, bumping up to 21 gigabit per second versus the 19.5 gigabit per second of the original 3090. In terms of shader cores, we're talking 40 shader teraflops, putting almost 5 teraflops in front of the RTX 3090. Now, if my math is fast at all, that's what, 7%? It's not great. Like, they're saying it's a full 5 teraflops in front of this on this one specific metric. Yeah, shader performance. Yeah, you made a video card that's 7% faster in some metrics, but you didn't give it any more CUDA cores or any more memory. You gave it slightly faster memory bandwidth. So memory bandwidth intensive tasks are going to be, well, about 7% faster. Weird how that works. Who knows how ungodly expensive this GPU is going to be, especially given the current market. Remember, the RTX 3090 was supposed to be a $1,500 GPU. I paid $2,750 and about a week of my time back and forthing with an eBay seller about how, no, I will not break the eBay terms of service to pay outside of eBay's buyer program. So, yeah. $2,000, $2,200, $2,400? Like, what's the retail price and what will people actually pay for this thing? I don't know. They didn't say. Which is weird, right? Like, why would you mention a price for what should exclusively be an enthusiast product?
Couldn't agree more, Jeff.
Yep.
Dang it, you are so articulate and knowledgeable.
Don't try to flatter me.
You can't stop me, Jeff.
Gosh.
What is LTE for if not flattery?
Andrew sends over a $10 donation. Thank you very much, Andrew. It is much appreciated. I've been saying for ages that Intel and AMD need a gaming 4 or 6 core high IPC. And you know what? Snapdragon is making a gaming system on chip specifically for gaming handhelds and tablets, plus one for Snapdragon. Yeah, I'm actually kind of looking forward to what Snapdragon does in the consumer space as far as Windows on ARM. Sorry, I Am Certifiable says 3090 Ti. The people who named the chip called it the Ti. It's been the Ti for as long as there's been Ti. Like, I remember the GeForce 4 Ti range of graphics cards. And they stood for titanium, which in empirical terms and if you're referencing the periodic table is Ti. You don't say Ti when you mean titanium. So you can all shut up. Ties are stupid, especially in the case of the 3090 where this is just a clip-on. Thank you. That joke was lost on Twitter. Gamers Nexus Steve posted tie, and so I said it's a clip-on, and I got like 4 likes. It's like, aw, that was a good joke. I like that one.
It was pretty good. I'll laugh.
Thank you. I appreciate hearing that.
My laughs come cheap, and you know this, but that's all right.
I'll take cheap laughs. I mean, anyway, moving on to some beer news, of which I didn't read a lot of. I did catch just enough that Brew Dog in some Dublin pubs are honoring Dry January, which has been a thing that's been kind of moving and shaking, I want to say for like the past 5 or so years. But finally starting to get some traction with like the mainstream. Like they're finally aware of it on blog posts and things like that, where Dry January, who's not drinking this month? Sorry. If you're doing Dry January, that's awesome. More power to you. And I hope it goes well for you. But Brewdog posted that in their Dublin pubs, they will be offering free unlimited refills of non-alcoholic beer for the entirety of January, which I think is a solid move. It's kind of like, your designated driver drinks free.
I like that.
That most bars do. If you're the designated driver, whatever sodas, lemonades, mocktails you want, they're on us. Like we're going to take care of you.
But in this instance, there's no need to wear a bracelet. Mm-hmm. They'll just, right. Like, oh, you're going dry? All right, here you go.
Right. Exactly. Oh, you bought a non-alcoholic beer? Rest of the beer's free.
Perfect. I like that.
The NA beer. It's the non-alcoholic beer. Let's make sure we don't get the Irish too excited.
There's some good non-alcoholic beer out there.
Yeah.
So
some.
Yeah, it scratches the itch. You know what I mean?
It totally does. There's the Klausner? Gosh, what's that German one? There's a German beer that's just a hopped carbonated water. It's fantastic. And I'll be honest with you, when I finished the hour or so that it took to ram the new fiber cable from my office, and by the way, the video did not accurately portray how hard it was raining while I was doing that.
It looked a lot worse at regular speed.
Right, regular speed, and even in the time lapse, there were some frames that it's like, that's a lot of water, where it's raining at a solid 35-degree angle. Wasn't flat, but it wasn't not vertical either.
Yeah. It's been coming down lately. So
Sunday night, in the course of 12 hours, we got 1.55 inches of rain.
Yeah, which is just nuts.
Right. That's what some cities in Vegas get in an entire year. Or cities in Nevada, I should say, not Vegas.
Same difference.
Right. Vegas gets 6 inches, but Northern Nevada, you're lucky if you get 2.5, and all of that is in snow.
Yeah, 1.5 in one night is a lot, even for us.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it happens from time to time, and it's not unheard of.
It's going to happen again this weekend too. I think Saturday
right,
it's in
exactly.
the forecast again. Yeah.
Yeah, we're just making up for like 2 years worth of rain at this point. So.
Sorry, Rom's making references back to earlier posts in the week. I had to laugh. I called a GIF and a Jiffy and got death threats on Reddit.
Sounds about right.
Yep. There was a post on Reddit about a man lasting a certain amount of time, and we should make a video of it. And they said, well, it wouldn't be a video, it'd just be a GIF because it only took a Jiffy. So they proved the pronunciation of GIF in one fell swoop, which I thought was awesome.
I think the beauty of GIF versus GIF is that like
it doesn't matter and everyone cares.
Yeah, exactly. Like it could be either. It's like it's like a dialect at this point. It's like who cares how you say it? We know what you mean. I think it's fun. I love watching the struggle.
Here's one that I can't comment on, but might get your jimmies rustled, Rhett. Okay. The Net Guy sends over a $10 donation. Thank you, Net
About
Guy.
The Matrix? Good Lord.
Let me read it first.
I'm sure this is why my internet went out, because God was watching and didn't want this to happen.
The Net Guy, by the way, solid YouTuber. Go give him a watch. The Matrix 4 has done worse than what Jar Jar Binks did for Star Wars. Change my mind.
Yeah, that's just disingenuous attention grabbing. I mean, Jar Jar Binks is a fine character, but Matrix 4 is nowhere near. I'm not saying that Jar Jar Binks is the lifeblood of the prequels. No, I'm not saying that. But Matrix 4 is nowhere near as bad. And
without
I'm glad
him,
that
the
he
Jedi
had to
would
pay...
likely be dead and there'd be no Darth Vader. So literally, he was the crux that stumbled upon Qui-Gon Jinn, or the Dark Lord himself.
I do like that fan theory.
I like that fan theory.
I am just gonna say I'm happy that the Net Guy had to pay $10 to say that.
I so badly wanted when we finally got a look at the new Emperor and whatnot, and Kylo's bowing before Snoke and whatnot and whatnot. Yeah. I so wanted when he cut Snoke in half to all of a sudden the doors open and we just hear Misa back. Like, would have done it. Could have happened.
Yep. Could have happened. Why not? No, we were having a good little chat about the Matrix in the Discord. So I'm glad he said he was going to rustle through his couch cushions to find some super chat money. So I'm glad he did. No, I'm all on board for a good conversation about the Matrix, because I think that the latest one is thought provoking, and I think that it definitely breaks the mold of I think what people wanted, But that's why I liked it. I mean, here's the thing, and I'll say this. The movie literally ended with a song by a band that is now famous for pissing on a fan live on stage. Now, if that's not a metaphor for what they were trying to do with Matrix 4, then I don't know what else is.
At least they didn't go the Game of Thrones route where it's everyone started predicting what we were going to do, and we just didn't want to have that. So we started going no, they guessed that idea. You know what? Why don't we just make Bran the king?
I don't even think that's true. There's so many clips of Benioff and Weiss, the showrunners for Game of Thrones.
Star Wars actually did admit that, where J.J. Abrams was well, they were guessing the plot of it and we didn't want to have that, so we just wrote a new one. And
so they wrote the new one that was straight from the canon of the books that they erased.
Right.
Get out of here, JJ.
Right.
Yeah, I don't. This is actually it's kind of the big problem I have with fan discourse on shows and stuff lately, is that it ends up having a far greater impact on the outcome of the shows than I think it should, because like I do sort of believe that like the people that are making these shows, they know better than the fans. And like the thing is that there are a lot of fans that are knowledgeable, and there are a lot of fans that have like good criticism and good takes, but like the masses, it's just noise that rises up. And it's like, I don't, personally, I kind of feel like it really ruined Rise of Skywalker, like, which is pretty much the worst Star Wars movie at this point. Like, I watched it a few times in theaters. It's like, whatever, if you like it, I guess good for you. I'm not going to debate you about it. But I think that's kind of what's happening with a lot of shows on TV. That kind of happened, I think, with Game of Thrones a little bit. And I kind of think I don't know. The Matrix, I think what makes a lot of people upset is that it was sort of like immune to that. Not necessarily that people had these ideas of how the Matrix ought to go, but I think that the Matrix was co-opted by a type of person that the creator of it just like detested and didn't like.
Yeah.
And she made the movie in order to be like a slap in the face to those types of people. And I think that that's really cool. And when you watch it, I don't know if you've watched it, Jeff.
I have not.
It's just chock full of memes, man. Like, it is one of the most like self-reflective meta commentaries on like the relationship of filmmakers with their fans that there is. And it's like so enjoyable because of that. Like, and people in the Discord were saying like, oh, well, it looks like a fan film version of a sequel. And I was like, yeah. And that's cool. I like that about it. You know what I mean?
Coming
like
from
it's
the
not just
writer of the original, like,
yeah. And like
what?
And if some of the stories that are coming out are to be believed, that the studio was like really kind of forcing her hand to make the sequel, then like she made a great sequel with a shit hand. And I think it's pretty cool. I don't know, like when you watch the movie, pay attention to a lot of the memes, a lot of the jokes, a lot of the things. Like there's flat out a sign in there that basically say like, I can't remember it without looking it up, but a character's like sliding down this pole and there's like a marquee sign and it says like shit on fans or something like that, It's like she's telling you right there what she thinks. Yeah. I think it's pretty cool. So I don't know. I'm not plugged into the chat or anything, so I don't know what anybody else is saying, but
I fully agree with a lot of the fans get too invested into something and take too much ownership of what is inherently not their art. And that's a blasphemous thing to say in certain communities. Star Wars, Star Trek, Game of Thrones, Matrix, Lord of the Rings. Like let's go down the list of like hardcore into the lore, into everything fandom and whatnot. Star Wars fans are the worst. Let me just say Star Wars fans are the worst, because
I kind of agree.
Here is the average Star Wars fan. I watched Star Wars in theaters when it came out in 1976 or 1977. Well,
I was 6.5 years old.
Well, I didn't really see it in theaters because I wasn't born yet. But in 1983, when Jedi came out, I still wasn't born. But in 1992, when I saw them the first time on VHS, my life was forever changed. And that original trilogy is just like so ingrained into who I am as a person. And then when the new ones came out, that was just an absolute slap in the face to everyone who had ever watched it. And screw George Lucas and everything he ever stood for or believed in or wrote or dialogue that he may have had a part of. And then I was so excited for the new ones, and man, they just suck too. And like, I'm a hardcore Star Wars fan, and I'm just telling you that you're a hardcore Star Wars fan, but you hate 6 out of the 9?
That's exactly what I was going to say about The Matrix right now, is that most people who like The Matrix like 1 out of 4 films.
Right.
Like, do you like The Matrix?
I like The Matrix.
Right. And that's the thing. It's like, I liked all 3 Matrixes. I always did. And it's, you watch them for what they are, and it's like, okay, when you say that number 2 and 3 weren't as good as the first one, you're unequivocally right. You are 100% correct. But every other criticism I find just like falls flat. It falls down to taste, and they act as though that their taste is sort of the sole metric that should determine whether or not a movie is good. I think that Star Trek fans are amongst the most like immune to this level of criticism, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think it's just in general because like,
well, we have a much broader scope on which to judge and a lot more material to find your own niche.
And I think that's true, but I also think that Star Trek was deemed dorky and stuff for so long that you just kind of grew immune to the outside criticisms, and like you learned to like it in your own way.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just me, because like I came at Star Trek like really like laterally. Like I didn't come at it like a normal person. Like I started liking Star Trek because of like a meme video that I saw, basically. I was like, that's Star Trek? Okay. And then I kind of got into it, and it became a game to like, how many scenes could I see from this meme video? And I fell in love with it from that direction. So maybe my experience isn't the quintessential, but yeah, like for Star Wars, it's like they like 2 or 3 out of 9 movies. They don't even like, or even more movies at this point, because they don't like Rogue One or Solo. And they'll sit here and they'll talk about how great, Clone Wars is, but even Clone, I don't know. It's just,
they've all got their flaws, but at the end of the day, it's still not your art, and you can either like it or you can dislike it. You can be a fan of one episode of the Clone Wars. That doesn't make you a Clone Wars fan. That means I sat down and I watched one episode and I liked it. It doesn't give you the right to trash on the other 75 episodes of it. Liking the original trilogy, that can be the end of your fandom. Like, you can like the original trilogy and hate the rest. That doesn't make you a Star Wars fan. Yeah. To be a fan, you have to be a fan of the thing as a whole. And appreciate the art for what it is.
Right. That's a big thing I think that is always missing from the discourse. Is like, I remember like doing this thing when I was really like, I'm still really into music, but like when I talk to people about like what I consider perfect albums, like I always take into account, what is the album trying to be?
Right.
Because if it got close to landing on what it was trying to be, it's going to score a lot of points in my book. Like if it's trying to be this thing and it totally misses or falls flat, like I have a lot of forgiveness for camp when other people don't, because I understand that camp can sometimes be a choice that you like lean into. This was like the big debate and my kind of big problem with like the Cowboy Bebop adaptation was, I thought the adaptation was brilliant. I loved every episode, and there were some slow parts that I could do without, but like overall, man, we have a freaking B+ adaptation of one of the greatest animes of all time, and people are going to dunk on it like it's not good enough. I'm like, I'm sorry if you thought that you were ever going to get the anime again.
Right.
Because you aren't.
Right.
The original showrunners could get together again with the original talent and all this sort of stuff, and they could try to make Cowboy Bebop season 2 or take 2 or whatever, and it's never going to match the magic, because it's also had 25 years to grow and develop in your mind. It's part of why people think Firefly is so good. If Firefly had gone on longer than 13 episodes, I'm sure that fans would have found a reason to hate it.
Firefly is, I think it is a great example of fans just going too far with something. Now, Firefly, great 13 episodes. Did a fantastic job of world building, did a fantastic thing with everything else. But because it was canceled, and because it never ran the course of trying to tell a story over multiple seasons, it's remembered more of what could have been, and man, I wish they continued that, rather than was it actually that good?
The truth is that what you build up in your mind and what you can imagine and what you can theorize and project into the show is better than anything that they could have ever done. Like this is part of why, I don't know, there's so many books you could point to where the final book isn't out yet, and the mythos of this book is all the fan theories and all these types of things. That's what made the Game of Thrones show so great, was that after it had caught up to the source material and it started developing on its own, everybody's on the same foot, and all of every theory was just fair game, and it's out there in the world. But every single thing that a fan could come up with is going to be better than what they could do, and that's part of why the show ended up falling flat. And I think the same thing could have ended up happening to Firefly. people hold it up as this remarkable thing. It's like you had 13 episodes and it didn't do anything other than give you this great ensemble. And it is great and it is fun, and
Right.
I've rewatched it 1,000 times. But like, I swear to God, if you had gotten more than a few seasons, the fans would have ended up hating it probably.
Yeah.
Or at least if they're anything like what you get out of modern Star Wars fans.
Right.
Or modern Matrix fans, judging by some of the conversations I've been in lately.
Right. What I will say is Star Wars has much more success when it's the underdog. It's only been the underdog a couple of times. It was the underdog with the original, trying to get the 1977 film shot and produced.
Yeah.
With, a shoestring budget. It made it, and it told a fantastic story. The next two films got greenlit. They also told fantastic stories, and they did very well. They also invented a lot of the techniques that we see in modern filmmaking. It's why LucasArts and Lucasfilm and Skywalker Sound became mainstays of film production. It's because they are the creme de la creme of special effects houses. But liking those three doesn't make you a Star Wars fan. And when the prequels came out, there was so much anticipation for what they should have been, and so many expectations for the story that they wanted told, that when the original writer, George Lucas, put pen to paper, wrote out the screenplays, and then produced what he produced, people went, well, that wasn't very good. I still love Star Wars, but this was just crap. Like, this was just a cash grab. This was like,
well, and part of what
this
people,
is what you wanted.
Part of what I feel like a lot of people forget is that the entire empire is built on merchandise, right? And so it's like, why wouldn't you have a Jar Jar Binks? Why wouldn't you have all of the, because he's not necessarily just thinking about what's going to look great on screen. He's also thinking about what's going to look great in toy boxes around the world, like
bingo.
And it's
dude's
like,
a marketing genius, and no one ever gives him that.
For sure. And what's funny is, like, everybody rips on Jar Jar Binks so hard, and I must have just been the perfect generation. Like, I saw it and I could not have cared less. Like, I thought he was fine. Every character needs a buffoon, or every movie could use a buffoon. Every story could use that, like,
little comic relief
gesture.
Right?
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, he's kind of abrasive now, but man, I watched Phantom Menace not that long ago, and I'm like, yeah, I guess I don't like the way he talks. And that's about it.
Yeah.
I don't know. And again, it's just like, the worst possible thing that George Lucas could have done was waited 15 years to make that movie. Like, if he had just gone in and made it right away after Return, like, I don't know, there's just no way. You give 15 years for fans, like Star Wars fans, to build up all this headcanon.
Yeah.
It's going to go awry. You give them all of these extended universe books for them to begin to, like, plot and theorize their own stories. Like, it's going to go awry. I don't know, man.
Yep. There are no greater natural enemies than Star Wars fans and Star Trek fans. Like Firefly fans and Star Wars fans, and Matrix fans and Star Wars fans. Damn Star Wars fans, they ruined Star Wars. Like, the meme writes itself. It really does.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and maybe, like, full disclosure, to all the people that are, like, talking about Matrix 4 and all this, like Net Guy, like, I like when there is a discourse between the fans, when there's a discourse between the fans and the creators. And Lana Wachowski just decided to make a very direct response to fan criticism, and I thought it was pretty great in that regard. I thought that The Last Jedi was really doing the same thing, and that's really part of why I liked The Last Jedi, was because it really dissects some of the tropes and traditions of Star Wars that were kind of, like, boring and tired and drawn out, and it challenges them, and it challenges you to think in new directions and be like, look, this is the Star Wars of the future. We could take this is one step, we could take two if you want. Well, and then Rise of Skywalker, we took two steps backwards and kind of went even, everybody hated Force Awakens for whatever reason, even though it's a fantastic movie.
I thought Force Awakens was the strongest of the three. And again, as a fan, I don't like where they took Luke Skywalker, but it's not my movie.
I loved it.
I understand where he wound up. I wanted to see how he got there.
Yeah.
And
I think, and that's kind of what I loved about it. This idea of taking the discourse between fans and creators, like the story of what happened to Luke Skywalker, like no matter what we envisioned, it was not like whatever we envisioned was not going to live up to what they did on film. And I think like Rian Johnson just ran with that idea.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to beat fan expectations, so why bother? And I think that's really why he tried to subvert a lot of expectations with his movie and really play with a lot of the cliches and tropes and traditions of Star Wars and push it in a new direction. A lot of people hate
I wanted to see how Luke got there. In a ship, Jeff, come on. In an X-Wing, which he buried for the second time in the sea. We do have a couple super chats. Sunny Chan chimes in with 50 Hong Kong dollars. Hello from Hong Kong. Hello. How's it going? And Elmist sends over another 500 yen. Merchandising, where the real money from the movie is made. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's why you got Empire. That's why you got Return. I mean,
he goes, you can have the studio money. I want the toy money. And they're like, whatever. And then he made billions of dollars on action figures. And they're like, oh, crap.
Yeah. I mean, and really, like, I wonder how much of, like, the toy craze of the 80s was really kicked off by that. Like, I don't know
really
the exact chronology of it all. But then it's like, I think at, like, around 84 to 86, like, you really got the like G.I. Joe franchise that kind of.
Well, you got G.I. Joe, you got Transformers, you got
Ninja Turtles,
He-Man, Care Bears, whatever the cats were. Thundercats, thank you. Yeah, you had all of these things, and I think they were trying to cash in on the make a popular show and equal toy sales. And so they started making things with toys predominantly in their minds.
Well, and that's the whole thing. Like, if you watch The Toys That Made Us, you learn that a lot of these shows were secondary to the toy lines.
Yeah.
Like, I think He-Man was that way.
Oh,
He-Man
all of those that we
line.
just mentioned were secondary.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that Star Wars kicked it off. I don't have like the chronology in front of me, and maybe I'm just talking right out my butt, but that whole 80s like toy craze with like action figures and all that, I think that was really kicked off by Star Wars.
Yeah. I don't think you're wrong in that assessment.
I mean, that's why Boba Fett is so big, not because of the movies, but because he sold toys, baby.
The mysterious stranger in the helmet.
I mean, all of those bounty hunters
and
in
what I will say
had names in the toys.
Right. What I will say is great about both Star Wars, the toys that they produce, and Star Wars fans themselves. Like, I know I said both and I listed 3 things, but follow me. Is that every single thing in Star Wars has lore. Everything.
Yeah.
Everything has an origin. You know, what we got in that bounty hunter scene was a prop maker going, I want to make something that looks cool. Like, let's make a bounty hunter droid, and let's have a Twi'lek, and let's have a guy named Bosk, and he's like wearing
a Trandoshan.
He's a Trandoshan wearing a Mercury style spacesuit, and this lizard guy and a tail. And then we've got this dude, you know, let's just name him Boba Fett, and he's like leftover stormtrooper parts and a jetpack. Oh yeah, we got to add a jetpack. And all of a sudden, you have the entire Mandalorian religion where we never remove our helmets and like, it is both the best and the worst aspect of Star Wars fandom right there.
Yeah. and that's exactly the thing that like kind of makes me laugh is like that scene really encompasses it because like
It really does.
I guess I really don't know if those characters were like listed off in the like credits or what. Like maybe they were, but like I think that IG-88, the droid, for example, was named in the toys only.
Yeah.
Like they're like toys IG-88.
IG-88. And then rounding the merchandise back up, the Nintendo 64 and PC game Shadows of the Empire, you actually fight IG-88 in a junkyard as Dash Rendar, who was supposed to play a predominant role in the sequel movies, but they decided to skip that whole thing.
Yeah. Well, that would have been also like Kyle Katarn.
Oh yeah. I love how they weave Kyle in and out of like major events. It's great.
Yeah, exactly.
Many Bothans died to bring us these plans. No, Kyle Katarn like shot up like 70 stormtroopers on his own and stole the plans single-handedly. and then gave him to some freighter, and then like 90 people on that freighter died. And then they got into Leia's freighter, and then that was captured, and so she put it into an R2 unit and shot it down to Tatooine.
You want to talk about great film, though? Rogue One, man. Like,
yes,
people got issues with it, but I honestly kind of think it's one of the best Star Wars movies. Like, I put it like, I put it above some of the original trilogy for sure.
I do as well.
It's so good.
It went back to the root of storytelling within the Star Wars universe, where the reason, and I say this about a lot of different media, both, you could say books, film, video games, etc. There's a difference between telling a decent story, which, to be honest, decent stories are kind of a dime a dozen. But also creating a universe that is fully organic and believable and letting the audience kind of fill in the gaps. Star Wars, A New Hope, did such a fantastic job of just starting a story in a universe you had no idea how it went or what existed or what meant what, and just dropping you into that universe and then telling a story within that universe. And, do we know where Tashi Station is? Probably in fan lore we do, but all we ever hear about it in the originals is I was going to go down to Tashi Station to pick up some power converters. We don't know why Luke was going there, but that's a line that he dropped because his life didn't revolve around the central story of the droids that the Empire was hunting. And everything about that movie built a universe without explicitly trying to explain why it existed. That's why John Wick works. That's why The Matrix works.
Yes.
That's why Doom works. That's why The Legend of Zelda works. That's why you can take any popular media. It's why Cyberpunk 2077 works to everyone's chagrin about the glitches and everything. Cyberpunk 2077 did a phenomenal job of just dropping you into a universe and saying, here, you figure it out. You figure out what the lore is. You figure out what all these things mean, because we're just going to use these terms and we're not going to hold your hand and give you the dictionary definition alongside it.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly why Morrowind works too. I mean,
oh God, I know you're being facetious, but that's why the Elder Scrolls works. Is they just drop you into the universe, and you have to figure. That's why Fallout works. That's why Final Fantasy works. The root of storytelling, and getting this mass adoption and mass enjoyment, is not having to hold someone's hand and saying, well, in 3,000 years prior to this event, we had these things called mages, and we had white mages and dark mages and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
It's
and then
dumping
Shinra
you into a
was
story.
founded by-
Right. It's dumping you into a story and letting you experience that world, because by the time you're done with the story, you may only understand 60% of the world that you're in, but it's an expansive universe that has so many other stories to tell. And I think that is so lost from so many popular media.
And I think that's really why people with Game of Thrones ended up being unhappy, was because they wanted a neat ribbon put on every single thing possible. And it's like, since when have you ever gotten a neat ribbon on everything ever?
I personally love it when they don't bother wrapping up a story.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't critical to the central plot. And so it's a thing that happened tangentially. You might be
disappointed if you liked it, but that's a lot different than it being a failing of the show or the book.
Right. Too bad we set up this character with all these dynamic plot lines and then they just faded away into obscurity. Well, you know what? They weren't central to the plot anymore, so of course they did.
How many plot lines in your life fade away to obscurity? Like there have been so many plot lines in my life that felt central that faded away.
Here's we'll start wrapping up with this point. It's 9:57. In your life, every other person is just an NPC. You're the only one who experiences your story, who experiences the way that you experience this plane of being. But did you know that the lore of everyone that you meet has a fully evolved story on its own? Like that barista at Starbucks, she lived her entire life before giving you your grande macchiato. Like,
I mean, think about the man hours that went into raising that barista.
Right.
You know,
right.
Like
think of the blue jeans guy from Mandalorian. He had an entire life as a boom operator up until that point that he intersected that story at that specific moment. And now he has an action figure. Like,
that's amazing. Yeah.
So don't tell me that every single story and every narrative that you've ever experienced has to have a neat little bow on it. You have friends who you lost contact with and you don't know if they ever ended up with Jennifer. Like,
yeah. And that's I think a really great way to think about life, because when you begin to get frustrated with somebody or short with somebody, or you can really begin to think like, well, how many things is this person going through that I will never grasp or never be able to understand? How many of their experiences are completely unique to them and completely beyond the scope of my imagination?
Yeah.
And, not necessarily saying that everybody doesn't deserve to get yelled at now on the net. Like sometimes people are jerks and they got to be told they're jerks. But other times they might just be having a rough day, man. And everybody's entitled to a rough day.
I've certainly had rough days. I've certainly said things in public situations to people that I'm not proud of. I've had trains of thought and methods of thought that I didn't like and didn't realize they were wrong until later in life. Like, we grow as people. We're not...
We all have, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and that's why I really think that there's room for the net guy to change his opinion about the Matrix. So, go
ahead. Way to wrap a bow on that one.
No, I'm just joking. I do appreciate the super chat and the conversation about it, though, dude. So thank you.
Mark says, I know for certain they never ended up with Jennifer. Jennifer changed their name and Timmy ended up with Stirano. They sent me the pictures. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Like I have really close friends from high school that literally as of graduation day, I haven't spoken to since. I have, pretty good friends that I used to see, weekly or multiple times a week. And all of a sudden it's like, our lives went different directions and we talk to each other once every 6 months, and that's life. But you know what? They're living their own life too. And they have their own experiences and everything else to draw on that might sway their opinions one way or another based on conversations that you're having. And you can like it or you can not like it, but being a fan of having friends doesn't mean that you get friends with nice little bows tied on every single storyline. So,
yeah.
And Solo was a dynamite movie.
Solo slapped so much behind.
It was
dude.
so good.
So good.
So good.
The most Star Warsy Star Wars
right.
movie.
It's like we love The Mandalorian for being like this spaghetti western style thing, and then we hate on Solo because it was this spaghetti western, like anything goes slapstick. Dude, the Great Gambino freaking slapped as Lando Calrissian. David Glover.
Yeah.
Donald Glover. Donald Glover. Freaking killed Childish Gambino. Sorry, I went Babe Ruth. I should have gone This Is America.
When you said the Great Gambino, I was like, damn, dude, you must love his music.
Yeah. Childish Gambino. No. Babe Ruth puts out some hella albums, let me tell you.
Laying him down. There's a reason they call him the home run king.
Puts his pants on the same way as the rest of us, but once his pants are on, he makes gold records. But no, him as Lando Calrissian was Childish Lambino.
You want to talk about one of my favorite images in Star Wars history? It's him leaning back with the droid filling up his glass. He's like, everything you heard about me is true. Like, what a suave line, dude. Like
him walking into the Falcon, and he has like 30 capes on hangers.
Yes. Which I thought was great, man. Oh, I love that movie. And that's the thing, like Mandalorian gets all this praise for being what it is. I'm like, and you're gonna turn around and knock on Solo.
Right.
Look, the only defense this movie needs is everybody's knocking on it. They're like, it's dog shit, it's so bad. And then Ron Howard, who directed it, he's just like, well, it's my most successful movie of all time, so like it literally outperformed every one of Ron Howard's movies.
Yep.
And people are saying it's bad.
Yeah.
Get out of here. Like,
yeah.
I don't agree with using box office ticket sales as like a metric to determine a movie's worth, but like in this instance, you're gonna say it's bad, and Ron Howard only makes bangers, dude. He doesn't make bad movies.
Right.
Like
Solo was so good, and it didn't deserve nearly the hate that it got. There are so many fantastic performances in that, and honestly, left. I mean, freaking Darth Maul makes a reappearance in the ending credits. Like, it is so good. It is so good.
Yeah.
It's up there. It's up there with Rogue One. I will say I enjoyed Rogue One better. And again, like to circle back around and to tie a bow on all this, I think Rogue One was so incredibly great because it told a story from a time in Star Wars which we weren't overly familiar with. I mean, yes, the fleeting moments of it lead directly into A New Hope. So timeline wise, it was literally like the 2 weeks before. But it tells a story from a perspective and with characters that we had never heard of before. And all it did was drop you into the storyline, tell you what the plot line was of we need to do this. Well, why do we need to do this? And the characters didn't have to explain themselves. They just were, and they were fantastic characters with their own personal motivations and desires and wants and needs and everything else. And the movie also didn't care if they lived or died because why?
I mean, and watching, like, you knew you were in for a completely different Star Wars experience than you've ever had.
Yeah.
When you watched Cassian, the supposed like, hero of the rebellion, just straight murk a dude to not get caught at the very beginning. And you're just like, what am I watching?
Yeah.
Like, I thought these people were the heroes.
Yeah.
Not to that guy, they weren't,
just straight up knife through the face style. Yeah.
Dude, it was just, it's, oh man, what a great movie.
Yeah.
All around.
Yeah.
And the dude that played Director Krennic, just like, man, he was, I wish I could, I always do a bad job of remembering his name.
Yeah.
But he is such a brilliant actor in his own right. He's so good in everything.
Yep.
What a great movie. Yeah. Rogue One personally is my favorite Star Wars movie. So
it's definitely up there. It's 1A, 1B Like it's close.
Exactly.
It's so close. Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus Vader's hallway scene. Right. Like in all of Star Wars.
People,
like you're a Star Wars fan, but in all of Star Wars, you only hear that Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker are badasses. You never get to see it until Rogue One and until The Last Jedi.
Yeah. Yeah, see, exactly, man. You get it.
Yet those are the worst movies in Star.
I've seen A New Hope 6,000 times, and for a moment, Rogue One did such a good job. For a moment, I had no idea what was going to happen to those Death Star plans.
Right.
Now, I'd seen the movies.
Right.
And I had no clue. I was like, is this it for the rebellion?
Right. Like I know the rebellion gets the Death Star plans. What I did not expect is a rebel soldier to be pinned against the ceiling and Darth Vader cut him in half nonchalantly. Like,
so good.
Oh,
and that is a gift. That is a gift from the reshoots, man. And everybody was dogging those reshoots.
Yeah. Oh, this means death for this movie. Right.
Get out of here. Get out of here. This is the problem with having so much speculation before. Like, let's just let these people make a movie because they dazzled us.
Yes.
And delighted us. What a fantastic movie.
Yep.
And the biggest crime is it's been how many years and we don't have Han Solo number 2 and 3 lined up?
I know.
Get out of here. Get out of here. This is my problem with the fans coming down hard on stuff.
Well, hold on. Now remember, we do have the Book of Boba Fett out now.
Sure, that's great. Fine.
I haven't started watching that one. I'm only.
It's good, but you know how many fans are knocking on episode 1 already?
I don't care.
And I'm just like, shut your mouth.
Here's me.
Like,
don't care what you think. I'm watching the show for my own enjoyment.
But you know who does care? Showrunners.
Yeah.
And they're gonna be like, oh no, they don't like it. We can't make it anymore.
Right.
I'm an accountant and I make only decisions based on Twitter trending hashtags.
So how do we go viral?
Oh, you did. Your Book of Boba Fett gone viral every episode.
Yeah. Like Mandalorian's great, but I'm only halfway through season 2 still. I haven't finished it yet.
Oh, you got some treats coming your way.
I know I do. Like, I've avoided like 90% of spoilers, but here's the deal: we still have Kenobi coming.
Yeah.
With Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen.
Yeah.
Like, right?
Man, and everybody knocks on the sequels, and I'm sorry, any movie, you can't ask for a better fate for a movie like Attack of the Clones than going on and becoming just the absolute meme lord film. Like,
right.
I don't even care. Like, if you don't like the sequel,
prequel memes are going to lose their ever-loving minds.
Yes, man. I don't even care. I love the prequels, and I love them. I love prequel memes.
Yeah.
I'm just there for it, man. We're having a good time while all you out there are like, oh no, Jar Jar Binks. Okay, well, negotiations were short. You know what I'm saying? I tried to throw a prequel meme in there. It didn't work. My delivery was horrible.
No, it took me a second, but I got it. It was good.
Just in time for the show to end, my internet is back on.
Oh,
isn't that nice?
Fantastic. Well, you can join us in the after show, just like the rest of you can if you jump on the Patreon to get access to the exclusive Discord server. Minimum contribution of $1 a month gets you access to the server. You can chat with myself, John, Rhett, Steve, all the hosts from Talking Heads, and take part in the awesome community that hangs out over there, as well as join the exclusive after party, super secret after party. We're usually hanging out till about midnight or even 1 a.m. Pacific time, live on voice chat. So come chat with us, have some continued libations, because, well, I don't have to work tomorrow, but I know some of you do. But come hang out anyway. It's a good time.
Yeah. If you want to fight me about Matrix 4, you know where to find me.
Anyway, make sure to like this episode if you haven't done so already. Subscribe to Craft Computing. That would be even better. Join us every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Pacific time for the latest in beer and tech news. And as always, we will see you right here next week. Later, everyone.
Cheers, guys.